Welcome. Good to see you. And I can't even tell you how phenomenal the two of you were in this movie. Honestly, I was
Thank you.
my head off watching this movie. I don't even know where to start, but let's just go for it. How important was it for you both to be in this movie?
Do you want to go first on that one? I don't know. I mean, for me, it was, the minute I read the script, I knew how important this was going to be for such a large part of the community, and that A, made me very nervous, but also it was something that it's not often that you read something that's so edgy and it hasn't been made like this before, and I jumped at it and I chased it. I think we all did. We all had to fight for our roles, man. Roland.
Really?
Well, Roland was great because he didn't. Nowadays, when you're making a movie, it's all about which actor's got the most Twitter followers or who's had that movie which grossed $100 million last year. So if you want, I've been quite stuck to my sort of indie movies, which are the ones that I love. So for him to just go after the actors that he thought were best for each role, it's really cool. So we all had to, we had to go for it.
I mean, I owe everything to Roland Emmerich, honestly. Before I did Stonewall, I had done one line on television on how to make it in America, and I had done one indie film that hadn't been released. So it was really my first big movie, and I know for a fact that people were being like, "Are you sure? Is he really gonna? We don't know. We don't have it." And Roland was like, "There is no." He said he had to have me.
Yeah.
And that's an immense honor.
Yeah.
Because it's my first major film, and I would
never know by watching it.
He killed it, right?
No.
I phoned up my agent.
man,
After 3 days, I phoned up my agent.
Yeah.
I said, if every movie I ever do is with Jonny Beauchamp, I'll be so happy.
Well, I want to ask you about the chemistry, because obviously you spend a lot of time together. But what was it like, because I can't even imagine, man, I could talk to you for an hour about this movie, but I can't even imagine when you're finished making this movie, you don't come away with best friends for life, and that it's touched you in some way.
Well, it's funny, man, because
Jeremy was like my big brother on the thing. He's a little younger, but he really had been there, seen it, and I'd be like, Jeremy, what do we do here? How should we do this? And he really was really kind of took care of me in that way, and was able to kind of help me navigate a bit. So, and I mean, in terms of us as friends, we've all met up all over the world.
Yeah.
I've met up with Vlad in London, in LA, in New York, in Montreal, in Berlin. I met up with Caleb. We've all kind of stayed for the we shot that last summer.
Yeah.
And for a year, we've all been kind of meeting up.
But it was quite interesting. I've never had a movie where, and I don't like the word method, but where everyone was so into their character all the time, and it really did. Kind of real life started to mirror the movie a bit, and we'd all kind of be going out and being a bit reckless
and taking on our personas,
taking on a little bit.
Okay,
and we'd all get in a lot of trouble, but
we definitely got in trouble.
Very cool. But, that for me, coming on set with all these actors like Jonny who are so committed to their role, I'm not having to do that thing where you're in a scene and I'm going, okay, I'm going to pretend that you're that person who I'm meant to be talking to. He was right there. Ray was in front of me. I wasn't having to do anything of that, which just makes your job infinitely easier.
Is it added responsibility too because you're representing a very important time in history, and B, these are real people, and I know that you're like an amalgamation of a couple, real people, but it's got to be so much pressure on you, I would think.
I don't think we had a choice but to just throw ourselves.
I don't even think. I mean, yes, there was a lot of pressure and stuff like that, but I think once we just got to the set with Roland, with everything, it was just kind of we do this, then go, then boom. That's just what happened. And so I don't think, I personally didn't really get caught up in all the hype and stuff. I mean, I had done my research going in. A lot of us had done our research going in, and then even while we were on set, constantly throwing out ideas. Oh, I just found this article, and it said, that Sweet Charity had come out, and it was a big, we'd done all this kind of stuff. So that, I don't think it was daunting in that way. It was daunting for me because I was like, okay, wow, I have to have a really big emotional scene with Jeremy and Irvine right now, and we've been at it for 18 hours. We just had dinner, and now we have to go break up or something, or have
but you don't think about that. You can't think about that.
No.
You
just have to do
on
it.
The job, and you try and do it to the best of your ability.
Yeah, shooting the riot scene. What more can I say? Exhilarating, or taking the brick. It's a pivotal moment in history.
Well, it is. I mean, I would say that just to clarify, that moment is not me starting the riots. The riots as the only, there's not a lot of eyewitnesses, but one thing that everyone agrees on is that the riots were started by this lesbian character who was being beaten up by the police outside the Stonewall, and she suddenly just shouted to the crowd, "Somebody help me, help me." And that's what started. Me throwing the brick, which I think is slightly misleading in the trailer, which I will address that now. is because I've just seen the boy who I've fallen in love with.
Right.
I've seen him with another boy, and that's a moment against him. That's not me starting the riots. The
And he
riots are kind of
also-
already started at that
He
point.
tries to stop to mollify you, almost to like
Yeah.
kind of be like, don't be like them.
Yeah.
He othered
This is a
them.
member of the Mancunian Society who were, predominantly kind of white middle class group who believed in peaceful protest, which, each their own. But our kids they were not into that.
Yeah,
No.
heartbreaking to watch a lot of these scenes for me, and to even think that this was like 40 odd years ago. I mean, really, like so close. Like it's so
So
yes,
close.
so close. Yeah,
But-
yes, we have come so far.
Well, we've come so far, but there's also at the end of the
this day.
script there's a fact which says 40% of the homeless youth today, in
Identify.
2014, identify with the LGBT community, and that is so shocking. So I think that just goes to show, yes, we've come a long way. There's been great, strides forward this year, but I think we'd all agree that really highlights there's a way to go. And I had no idea that was the case.
Yeah.
40%. 40%. I mean, that's
Very
just,
big
think
number.
about that.
Yeah, and to have somebody like Roland Emmerich at the helm of this, yes, he does all these big,
Right.
we know that, but man, Anonymous, I love this.
Yeah.
This was so well.
Well, it was
directed.
that fact. It was the fact that Roland does a lot of outreach and a lot of stuff. He works a lot with the GLBT Center in Los Angeles every year, and the 40%, that number stuck with him every day, and that was a huge reason why he was like, I'm going to make this movie regardless of who supports it or who's going to make it. We're going to make it, and they made it happen.
Yeah.
Roland just thought it was alarming, and he certainly wanted to call to arms.
Yeah.
I mean, it's 2015.
Amazing. It really is truly amazing. It was so hard for Jeremy to watch the scenes with David Cubitt, of course, our great Canadian actor.
Yes.
He
Yeah.
plays your dad.
Yeah.
But that for me, I have two sons, 19 and 23. I honestly could never imagine doing that to them. Makes me teary to think about this movie, really. And I have no words, no words how I felt about this.
Well, I agree, and I think it's actually something we can all. No, that's really no, but that's so. I think that just the fact that you're getting passionate. I got the same way when I read the script. It had me in tears when I read it the first time, and I think when I started talking to people who, to kind of get into the role, talking to people who had that same experience, who had that conversation,
A lot of
where their
people.
parents hadn't accepted it, and I was very lucky. I've grown up in a very accepting community, and now I work in an industry which is, on the most part, very accepting. But we forget that a lot of the world isn't like that, and it's a very moving piece. But what I love about this film, though, is I think it is also a very enjoyable movie to watch. It's very funny. There's wonderful.
We have our
Johnny's
moments.
character has some of the funniest moments in the film, and I think it ends on a high.
And
which is
Vlad
really
Alexis
cool.
as well.
Yeah.
Vlad Alexis has those one-liners.
Yeah.
Who's from Montreal, so he's Canadian.
Yeah. Where was it shot?
Montreal.
It was.
Montreal.
Okay, that's what I wanted, because there's so many Canadian actors in there, and I thought, wow,
Yeah.
this is awesome, but I wasn't 100% sure. I was looking it up, but just a fabulous job. So, what are you hoping? I know that there's been some Twitter crap going on, and you've been addressing it, and it is what it is. It doesn't matter what you do.
Well, it's purely people who haven't seen the movie.
Yeah.
So the movie, everyone who we've spoken to has seen the movie. All those issues are clearly not a thing.
I don't
So,
get it. I just don't get it why people have to do this kind of stuff.
Well, no. I as someone who's not part of the LGBT community, watching that trailer, I can absolutely see how it could be misinterpreted.
Yeah.
I probably shouldn't say this, but it wasn't the cleverest trailer, I think, to show it like that.
That's okay, but this is why you're here to talk
But
about
this is why,
it. Yeah.
I think the movie,
Yeah.
I think as soon as people see it, they'll realise exactly what the movie's about, which is, I think, showing the struggle of the homeless youth, which is so relevant today, and then it's all against the backdrop of the
Exactly, and what's really cool about it is that there's all these different points to the film. You've got the whole mob's involvement, which people aren't really privy to, that the mob owned all the gay bars in New York City, and they were the only ones selling to the GLBT community, and they didn't have liquor licenses. So they were private bottle clubs, and they were poisoning people because syphilis was going around, all these things, and they weren't washing the glasses. Then you also have the police's enforcement. There was a little bit of corrupt police enforcement going on, being paid off to do the raids. So everything was kind of planned. They were kind of planning these beatings and these raids. And then you've got the Mattachine Society, which was kind of vying for rights and assimilation, and we're just like you. We're heteronormative, but we're not the trans people of the community. They're not a part of this. The people who are not necessarily white bread or head. You know, and there's everything is really there's more to it. It's not just black and white
Roland
like
got
that.
each
But
of those things
Yeah.
in, which is why this is why I didn't really take all the controversy so seriously
Yes.
because I knew how diverse the movie was.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
no, and I hope all those people see it, and I hope they enjoy it, and I hope it does stand up for everything that they believe in too.
Well, like I said, it's extraordinary. As you can see, it's moving me to tears.
Oh, that's so
honestly,
sweet. Thank
you guys
you.
are fantastic in this, and I
thank
just
you.
only wish you the best of luck with this and
you
all
very
your
much.
future endeavors. Of course, you're going to go on to do a million more things. So
Oh,
thank you so much.
Thanks so much for
I
taking time
appreciate
with
it.
us. Thank you.